Hi all, a new day and new stories from Ocean Story. Just listen to this story. My friend Lucas has a big family. Most of his brothers and sisters are grown up. Lucas is still living alone, and he recently broke up with his girlfriend. I can't say he's too upset about it. It wasn't the first time he broke up with someone, so he could handle it. Although he did complain to me a few times about his girlfriend. Lucas decided to go to visit his sister Amelia, who lives 200 miles away. Lucas has some friends there, so he was very excited to go there. Amelia and her husband, Mason, welcomed Lucas to their home. He had not seen his family for more than 7 months. At the first family dinner, they talked a lot about plans in life. Amelia told many new stories about old friends. Mason told how well he started bowling, so this time he intends to beat Lucas. Everything was great for the evening. The three of them went to a local bar and had a great time. That night, Lucas met some of his old friends. They invited him to go fishing the next day. Lucas thought it was a very good idea. He hadn't been fishing in over 3 years. Lucas went fishing without an overnight stay. After all, the place he went to with his friends was not as cool as it used to be. Lucas returned home around 7 o'clock. At that moment, Mason returned from work. Mason said he had a minor injury to his hand. Lucas examined his hand, and it turned out that his sister's husband had simply pressed his finger on his index finger, and the finger barely changed color. The next day, Mason had to stay home because it was a day off. Lucas planned to go fishing in another place, so in the morning he started packing his things. In the evening, Mason asked Lucas to help him with watering the plants at home, but Lucas said he would help when he was free. Amelia was supposed to help Mason, but she went to her aunt's house for 2 days. That evening, Lucas returned home from a fishing trip. Mason asked my friend if he would help with the water now. Lucas said he was too tired to help now. As it turned out, all the help he needed was to move the hatch and tighten a few bolts. He just didn't feel like doing it himself. There was nothing to do if 2 people were to solve the problem. The entire repair would have taken Mason no more than 5 minutes. Mason is used to solving all household problems with his wife, so Mason thought he couldn't do it without Lucas. At dinner, Mason started to pester my friend to help him. Lucas told his sister's husband he had to be at his friend's house early in the morning to take them to the river. Maybe in a few days he could help. Mason was annoyed that Lucas had once again refused to help, so Mason started to say hysterically that Lucas was being a bad boy. He is in his house, sleeping on his bed, and eating his food, and he refuses to help. Lucas replied, "I'm not trying to avoid helping. Of course I will help you, but when I am more free. Besides, there's nothing complicated there that you need me for." The 2 men went to bed without resolving the situation. In the morning, Lucas got up to get his things. Lucas looked into Mason's room and saw that he was sound asleep. So Lucas did not wake him up and left the house quietly. When Lucas was at his friend's house, he remembered that he had forgotten some tools, but he didn't want to go back. It was about 2 in the afternoon when Mason called Lucas. My friend was surprised by the call, and Lucas picked up the phone. Mason immediately started yelling into the phone. Mason said he was going to do the water work himself, but because no one was there, Mason got hurt. The hatch he pushed open was standing upright, with one hand on the outside and the other hand turning a bolt. Suddenly, the hatch lost its balance and fell right on top of Mason's hand. He was very angry with Lucas, saying that if he had been there, nothing would have happened. A little later, my friend's sister Amelia called. She was also angry with her brother. He was supposed to help her husband with the housework. Amelia said, "We've done so much good for you, and you don't want to repay our family in some way." Out of anger at Lucas, his sister's husband broke my friend's net. Lucas told his sister Amelia that he had never refused to help. "I'm busy right now, so I can't help you right away." Mason could have waited another day because the irrigation repair was not urgent, as it was far from the watering season, so it was his own fault for going in there. On top of the fact that he went in there himself, he was so careless. They did not tolerate Lucas saying anything about it. Amelia continued to blame her brother for her husband's injury. Amelia told him to take his things and leave that evening. If he didn't care about the needs of their family, is it Lucas' fault that Mason tried to fix the water? at home and got injured? Harper, why is Lucas immediately to blame for Mason's injury? Was he holding the hatch that fell on Mason's hand? Amelia has a very strange husband. If he can't do the housework himself, I think that if Mason has to cut down a tree, he would rather cut himself than cut down the tree. Lucas was a guest in their home. He had the right to refuse his relatives' help. The fact that Mason was injured shows that he is a clumsy person. Logan, can someone please explain to me how Mason put the hatch so that it fell on his hand? I mean, how could he put it there in the first place? Mason is a healthy man. He should be able to do home repairs on his own. It's strange that Mason is to blame, but Lucas is being blamed. There was a similar story in my childhood. My dad was always making me feel guilty for his failures. When I helped him repair the car and held the flashlight, Dad spilled oil on his face. He started shouting at me that I was a stupid, clumsy person who couldn't even hold a lantern. So this situation is very similar to mine. Lucas himself is not to blame for his friend's injury. Evelyn, I understand that Mason had a less significant injury before his big one, but does that make up for his clumsiness and stupidity? Mason is so proud that he wanted to tighten 2 bolts with one hand so he could say how cool he was for doing it himself with his injured finger. I am 100% sure that Mason wanted to prove to everyone how cool he was, but he didn't succeed, so Mason puts the blame on Lucas, who wasn't even there. It's very tragic that Mason is such a weak man. Alexander, I'm pretty sure that's your friend's sister's husband. He was able to cope with the trauma himself, but because of his anger, Mason let his guard down, and the hatch fell on his hand. But he was so pathetic that he even told Lucas to leave his house. Oh, that is such a brilliant decision. Mason, my friend, you need to be able to admit your mistakes. If you don't start doing that, I'm afraid it won't be just your hand that will suffer in the future. What Mason did was very low. Lucas didn't deserve to be kicked out over such a minor situation. Where is the common sense in these people? Abigail, Lucas is partly to blame. Mason is right. If he had been around, that stupid hatch wouldn't have fallen on Mason's hand. And now, Lucas would be living in his sister Amelia's house. A story that really surprised me. I haven't lived with my parents for a long time. I moved away from them when I was 21. Now I'm 24 and have a great job and a place to live. I have a slightly younger sister. She was with me for the same reason. I moved away from my parents so soon. Then my sister Emily started living with my aunt and uncle. This is one of the worst examples of family behavior. My uncle Ethan loves Emily very much. He would do anything for her. And my aunt Elizabeth loves my sister because she spends time with her. Emily is the only one who could stand my aunt's stories about her TV shows and how she used to perform at concerts when she was young. So my aunt and uncle do a lot for my sister. They consider Emily the best of our kind. Emily herself actively uses Elizabeth and Ethan. Emily graduated a long time ago. She worked for a couple of months at a regular job but realized that it was hard for her there. So she just sits at home and tells everyone that she is actively looking for a job. Emily tells fairy tales to everyone who doesn't know her well, that she has her own business and that's where she gets the money to spend on parties and new things. In reality, Emily takes money from my aunt and uncle. Now my sister lives separately, but Emily hasn't stopped asking Ethan and Elizabeth for money. The worst part of this story is that my uncle and aunt voluntarily give her their money that they have saved for themselves. Ethan says she is young and needs the money more. Elizabeth has been saving for a long time to go to the doctor, but now Emily has assured Elizabeth that she will be applying for an additional degree, so she needs money. Emily says, I needs money, and my aunt is happy to give it to her. Emily uses their car more often than her uncle. However, she has never filled the car with fuel at her own expense. 3 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to Beverly Hills. When Emily found out about it, she started saying that she wanted to come with me. I turned her down in the first seconds. I have no intention of spending my money that I earned working for 4 months. I had to postpone 3 parties to go there. And now Emily wants me to be a sponsor for her. When Emily realized that she couldn't do anything about it, she told her aunt and uncle about it. That night I got a call from my uncle Ethan. He asked me if I would like to take my sister with me, and he was even willing to pay for her accommodation. I still said no because it was too expensive, even if Ethan would pay. I choose not to have anything to do with Emily. She's been too much of an annoyance lately. She wants everyone to love her for just existing. Emily doesn't want to help anyone or do anything useful. At the same time, my aunt and uncle don't see anything wrong with her. They think our whole family should love Emily for her beautiful eyes. My dad says that Ethan and Elizabeth are crazy. My parents try to stay out of it. They have just recently been freed from Emily's insolent behavior. That week, I attended our cousin's wedding. Unfortunately, Emily was there, and 2 rows behind me were Ethan and Elizabeth. After the ceremony, they came up to me. They had a lot of accusations against me. They said I was being stupid for not wanting to help my little sister. I explained to them that I don't have to finance my sister Emily, who doesn't want to do anything. But that's not the end of Ethan and Elizabeth's crazy antics. They made my sister their idol. One day my sister broke up with her boyfriend. After 3 months of their relationship, it's not hard to understand why. Emily's negative behavior prompted Jacob to dump her. She often asked him to buy something for her. Emily wanted Jacob to give her flowers or something tasty at every opportunity, and her aunt and uncle told her that Jacob had to pass their test for the perfect candidate. This is where the global problems began. The aunt said that Jacob would have to help her with her household chores for 3 months to be considered worthy. The uncle told Jacob that he had to fill up his car with gas every Wednesday. Emily told her boyfriend to do whatever Ethan and Elizabeth told him to do. That's why Jacob left the whole damn family. My aunt knew that I could sometimes talk to Jacob. He sometimes asks about my sister. Aunt Elizabeth thinks I am hurting my sister's feelings by talking to Jacob. I don't really care what you think, I said. I don't think your opinion with my uncle is the most important thing in my life. I want to talk to someone, so I have the right to do so. If you understand everything, then let's stop talking. Elizabeth was offended that I had been so rude to her. She said that she always wanted me to grow up, to be a nice girl, not so rude. Finally, I told my aunt that Emily was just using them and they were happy about it. You don't have to tell everyone that Emily is the best of the family. She is. Elizabeth started telling her friends that I envy my sister Emily, so I try to ruin her life by any means necessary. My relatives who have no contact with me believe every word my aunt says. My dad says I shouldn't pay attention to it. They will soon calm down and leave me alone. But I'm sick of Emily being so brazen and being patted on the head for it. I've never been as brazen as Emily is. I don't want to talk to my aunt or uncle anymore. I stopped talking to Emily when she asked to come with me. Maybe I should have stopped keeping in touch with them a long time ago. Michael, how did you even put up with this for so long? Your sister was always saying something disgusting about you. Your aunt and uncle think you're mean and jealous. Why are you evil to them and Emily is a saint? Don't Ethan and Elizabeth notice anything? In fact, they always treat you unfairly. You were right not to take Emily on the trip. Otherwise, she would have thought that you were influenced by her too. Emily would have started asking you for money or to do her things. You should have stated right away that you never wanted to be a sponsor for anyone. Your sister is not 15 years old. She can pay for herself, especially if Emily tells everyone she has her own business. Mila, what right do your aunt and uncle have to blame you? You live your own life and can do what you want. If you decide not to help your sister, that's your decision. If you don't want to talk to your family, that's also your right. Your aunt and uncle need to think about the fact that you are not 11 and you will not buy into these manipulations. I don't even want to understand how they came up with the idea to make an exam for your sister's boyfriend. I think there are much better methods now than forcing someone to do your work. I'm glad that Jacob dumped your sister Emily because he would have been just as much a slave to Emily. I'm sure of it. Daniel, I really hope that one day your uncle and aunt will see that they have turned Emily into a real monster. Maybe once upon a time Emily was nice and kind. She's not like that now, and she's not likely to be like that again. Does Emily like living such a miserable life? I think they will stop funding her soon. It will be interesting to see how Emily will act. I think she will start asking for forgiveness from everyone just to be taken in. My next story. I have a husband, William, and we have been married for 6 years. We live near the ocean coast. I currently have a good job, and my sister is helping me open my own shop. My husband, William, has been working in the rescue service for 4 years. The other day, a relative of his was supposed to come to visit my husband. It was a guy named James in his 20s. James was not bad. He was very good to my pets from the beginning. James came to live with us for a long period of time. His parents sent their son to get a decent education. William is always supporting James. They have a very good relationship with each other. Even though they haven't seen each other for a long time. I have known James for a long time, but I remember him as a teenager. Almost 4 years have passed since then. Now James looks like a man, tall and strong. For a while, everything was great between us. James found himself a group of friends, and he fell under the strange influence of his friends. James became more aggressive and somewhat annoyed with me. He didn't like the way I cooked or what I listened to when I was in the kitchen. It wasn't hard to tolerate his behavior, but it was disgusting and angry. Even though James is in his 20s, he often behaved like a teenager. I slowly began to get used to James's behavior. He seemed to calm down a bit and became more reasonable. The other day, he and my sister went on an errand for my store. James helped my sister a lot with the heavy stuff. A few days later, James told my sister that he liked her. He said she was the only one who didn't judge. She was the one who always talked to him and didn't tell him he was being stupid. In fact, my sister was acting this way for 2 reasons. I asked her to be kinder to James because he is a bit emotionally unstable. The other reason was that she had a boyfriend of her own, so she wasn't interested in James. My sister could have behaved with James as a friend because she was not interested in him as a boyfriend. My sister decided to tell me about this situation. I was a little surprised that James would think of something like that. He is too young and irresponsible to think about relationships, especially not with my own sister. I felt a little bad that James wanted to date her. I recommended to my sister that they talk to James, and she honestly told him that they couldn't be together. I think James will understand why she told him that. I told my husband William that his nephew wanted to win my sister. William laughed a lot at this situation because it is really funny. I understand perfectly well that James wanted to have such a cool girl, but she is 3 years older than him and has a boyfriend. It's a little bit not the case when it's appropriate to be courting. My sister did talk to James though. Of course, James started to get offended and said that he would not give up. My sister said that if James continued to do this, she would tell her boyfriend about it. James was a little scared because my sister's boyfriend was a big 25-year-old man. James is now very upset that my sister turned him down. James accused me of turning my sister against him. His mom called me and told me to apologize for getting on James' nerves. My husband tried to talk to James, but there was no point. He started to feel depressed. James doesn't want to talk to anyone or see anyone. I don't know how much we are all to blame for him, but it's a very stupid idea to hit on a girl who has a boyfriend. Should I apologize to James? Ava, I had a friend like that. He tried to hit on all the pretty girls he saw. He never cared if she had a boyfriend. He just went and tried to meet them. He did that until the first time. He got beat up pretty badly. I hope your sister's boyfriend won't be so rough with this kid. I think James has never had attention from a pretty girl. That's why his harmonica started to get the better of him. It's not something to take seriously. James will go away soon and he will be better. Isabella, it is not your husband William's fault or yours. Your husband's nephew chose to court a girl who was clearly not for him. I don't know what was going through his mind. James went after a girl who was older than him and had a boyfriend. Most boys don't like a girl who is older than them. If James didn't think age was a problem, what about your sister's grown-up boyfriend? She was very nice to James, but he saw it as an act of courtship. He really lacks female attention. If James mistakes normal friendship activities for courtship, this boy James needs to grow up a bit. After all, trying to steal someone else's girlfriend is very bad. Oliver, it scares me that James started telling his mom about this. What did he even say to her? I was rejected by a girl who is a relative of mine, who is 23 years old and has a boyfriend. His mother was like, "Oh, son, I'll deal with it." And she started calling you to apologize to him. But where is your fault in this? If it doesn't enter James's head that it's wrong to hit on other people's girls, what questions can James' parents have for you? I think James is just a little boy who has become very spoiled. Now he thinks he can do anything. I think we should have a serious conversation with James. Maybe this isn't the first time he's tried something like this. Think ahead to what problems James might lead you to. It's not hard to guess what James will tell his friends about this situation. He will blame you and your husband. James doesn't want to admit that he made a mistake when he started hitting on your sister. If James doesn't get it, then your sister's boyfriend should tell them the rules for men. Now I want to tell a different story. I am now 33 years old and married to a wonderful girl named Sophia. She is 4 years younger than me. Age does not prevent us from building a good relationship. My wife has been with me for 2 years. She likes men like me. I am a tall man who is slightly overweight. I can't say that I look very attractive, but my Sophia likes me. I work for a small construction company. Our team is mostly men in their 30s. Most of us don't think much about looking good. It is important for us to provide for our families. My wife Sophia lives and works a little differently. She works as an administrator in a hotel that has a lot of visitors, so she dresses very nice and attractive for her job. Sophia says that to make a good impression on customers, you have to look great. I like that my wife wants to look attractive. However, sometimes Sophia's desires go beyond that. Not long ago, the owner of the entire hotel chain in the country came to visit. He said that this year was more profitable than ever. Therefore, he will organize parties for all the top executives of his hotels. My wife was very excited about this event. It was a good opportunity for Sophia to prove herself. Sophia expected to be promoted and put in charge of several hotels. I was very happy for her. Sophia said I should go with her. I didn't really want to, because I wouldn't look very good against all the guests. I felt as if I would be a bottle of water in the middle of a table with alcohol. I told Sophia that it was okay if she went without me, but Sophia objected and told me to relax. Sophia says I am her life preserver in an ocean of strangers' people. I am her loving fat man. After her words, I really felt better. We went to choose clothes for the corporate party. I couldn't think of anything better to wear than my classic suit. Maybe I look too important or not as attractive as Sophia, but these are the things I feel comfortable in. When I went into Sophia's room, she told me to look for something else. I wondered what she didn't like about my costume. Sophia was wearing a skirt and a thin t-shirt. To put it mildly, she looked like she was going to a nightclub. I told her that she had the wrong outfit. Sophia looked at me with surprise. Sophia said she needed to make a good impression on the guests, so she dressed like that. Compared to my wife, I looked more like a dad to her than a husband who brought his daughter to the party for the first time. We started fighting about our outfits. I didn't like that Sophia looked too revealing, and she didn't like that I was dressed like some old man. I didn't want all the men at the corporate event to look at my wife and want to take her to bed. I'm pleased that Sophia looks great, but that kind of dress is inappropriate. We argued with Sophia for over an hour about these outfits. She absolutely did not want to hear what I had to say about the clothes, so we didn't talk to her after the fight until the morning. During the night, Sophia managed to text her friends that I wanted to stop her from going to the corporate party because of her clothes. They discussed me almost all night. I feel bad about it. Should I have given Sophia permission to wear that revealing outfit? She made me feel guilty. Benjamin, why didn't your wife tell you in the beginning that she was going to dress like a nightclub? I think Sophia likes to have a bunch of men staring at her. Her choice of clothes is not just to please her boss, but to please all the men. Anyway, who at work wants to impress their boss with such sexy clothes? If Sophia is a hotel manager, she should impress the owner with her knowledge and good statistics on visits, not with her short skirt. If I were you, I'd keep an eye on Sophia's actions. Suddenly she's cheating on you for the sake of her job. Charlotte, why were you so angry at Sophia's choice? I think you're not a very confident man. After all, confident men don't really care what his wife wears. He is sure that she will stay with him. You've been acting very insecure. Are you worried that your wife will like someone else? Perhaps there was nothing wrong with Sophia's choice, but you started a fight. Do you give Sophia permission every day to wear what she wants to wear? I don't think you did the right thing when you started telling Sophia to change her clothes. If she wore some pants that were tight around her body, would you have acted the same way? Elijah, why does your girlfriend say you're her barrel in the ocean? Sophia is openly trying to tell you that you're chubby. I have a feeling she's not just being nice. Maybe it's aggression from Sophia and you think she's just being nice. I think Sophia doesn't have the respect you deserve if she allows herself to wear such revealing clothes to a party where there will be a lot of guys. I don't think she would be happy if you had kids and your daughter wanted to go to a party in that outfit. Your relationship is very sensitive. Mia, I never allowed myself to dress like that when I had a husband. It's really too much for an adequate and beautiful girl. It's one thing to go with your husband to a party in a club where no one knows you, but here it's completely different. There will be employees there who know her. For someone, Sophia will look great. Some will say she looks like a prostitute. Do you want to have a reputation, the husband of a whore, who works as an administrator? I don't think you need that kind of relationship. If Sophia can't dress normally for a corporate event at work, what can you expect from her if you went to a party? Sophia would probably go there in just her underwear to make sure everyone likes her. You can safely tell her if Sophia doesn't stop this behavior, then you will need to break up. Next story. I am a sophomore in college. I like that I got into the profession I wanted to study. My parents are very happy that I am doing well in my studies. However, I have some difficulties in my studies. My younger sister is constantly suffering from bullying. One of the girls in her group constantly teases my sister Ella. Mostly these jokes are aimed at her appearance. Our family is not in the best financial situation right now. We do not have expensive things and gadgets. Our parents provided us with everything we needed. My sister Ella told me that one girl is constantly making fun of her along with other girls. Ella said that in the cafeteria, these girls deliberately poured a cup of compote on her. Ella said that she could not stand it and took someone else's portion and threw it at that girl. Now the father of that aggressive girl wants to talk to someone older. I agreed to go to this meeting to avoid involving my parents. The university itself decided not to publicize the situation. Both girls were punished. To my surprise, the girl's father was quite calm and adequate. He recognized that his daughter could sometimes behave inappropriately, but he insisted that my sister Ella was just as guilty as his daughter. I could not agree with this because I know that my Ella would not hurt someone because she thinks it is fun. She is the kind of person who would defend others, not actively attack them. The girl's father apologized and said he would have a talk with his daughter. I said that this was not enough. She should apologize to my sister in front of all the people in the dining room. It was there that she wanted to humiliate my sister Ella. And because of these stupid definitions of relationships, my sister was suspended from the tennis tournament. Immediately, the man's expression changed. He started saying that this was too much. His girl is quite quiet and careful. She won't ruin her reputation for the whole dining room. This man began to prove to me that I wanted too much from his girl. Maybe she was guilty, but she would not apologize to everyone. He kept saying, I told him that his daughter should do it. Otherwise, I would be ruining his daughter's reputation. In the middle of the university, we started a verbal fight. In the end, he said that as long as I behaved so aggressively, nothing would change. We stopped talking and I had to tell my parents. They were furious, and then my parents had a long argument with that man. What should I have done in that situation? After all, no one in the family who had been aggressive was willing to apologize. Henry, it's very bad when parents don't know how to recognize their children's faults. Because of this, many children turn out to be shit. You did the right thing by trying to resolve this conflict peacefully, but you just couldn't reach an agreement with that father. That guy was a jerk. It seems to me that first of all, he wanted your sister Ella to apologize. After all, his daughter was also hurt that day, but he doesn't really care about his own daughter's behavior. He was so calm about it, as if it happened once a week. I sympathize with your sister for being a victim of bullying. Avery, sometimes I'm surprised how mean children can be to each other. Why can't we just live in peace and not spoil anyone's life? That girl's action was very conscious. Perhaps she suffers from humiliation at home. So she tries to prove herself at the university. So she starts humiliating others. If I were your sister, I would have pulled that girl's hair so that she could feel how it feels to humiliate others. You should have told the parents right away. Maybe they would have talked to the girl's father better. In any case, your sister is a good girl for not putting up with that girl's stupid tricks. Ella gave her a hard time, and that's great. I wish your family the best of luck.